What is happening at BYU? Like, genuinely, what is happening?
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is one of the biggest recruiting wins in Big 12 history. Provo, Utah is home to Ryder Lyons, the Gatorade Player of the Year out of California, a 5-star quarterback and a game changer, not just for a team, for an entire conference. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. Ryder Lyons has committed to BYU. The 5-star quarterback coming out of California who had offers from places like Oregon, whose brothers play at USC, and the 6'3" quarterback turned both of them down to go to BYU. If you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job. Here's what this is. The era of members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who are very good at football. The era of them going to USC over BYU, of them going to UCLA or Oregon over BYU, or even Utah. That era's done. The era of BYU kind of being a little brother or a school or a team or a community that is seen as independent or outcast in college athletics, that is gone. The era of BYU being kind of broke or poor, or they don't want to spend their money on athletics because they really don't invest in it that much and they're more focused on the church. No, they're still very focused on the church, but now they're landing elite level talent, both within the LDS community, outside of the LDS community, and not just even elite level, the highest level. Arguably the best quarterback in the class of 2026, a guy who would be a top 5, 52 touchdowns as a junior in California. A guy that would be a top 5 recruit, in my opinion, if not ducked for the fact that he is such an avid member of the LDS faith that he plans to go on mission. Oregon and USC. This is still a conversation about deep pockets. Like, you're going to hear from a lot of different pundits like, oh, well, this was just a faith. This was just a community. This was just it's a big piece of that. But this is also BYU flexing the muscle of we're the real deal now. We have the NIL money. We have the infrastructure. We have the coaching staff. We have the entire athletic department bought in on winning. And I hear it all the time. Oh, this guy loves to wax poetic about BYU. First, I've been using this koozie that I got at a Utah game that if you flip it upside down, I didn't know it says BYU sucks. So I'm not always on the BYU train, apparently. What I need you to understand is if you're a TCU fan, if you're a UCF fan, if you're a Baylor fan, you cannot hide. I cannot hide from the fact that BYU has more momentum as a university, as an athletic department, than anyone else in the conference as we speak. They just landed the #1 player in the country in basketball, flexing more NIL as well as culture. They just landed one of the top quarterbacks, if not the best quarterbacks that we've seen in this conference from a high school recruiting standpoint. This is revolutionary for the new era Big 12 post-Texas and Oklahoma. We don't get the Adrian Petersons. We don't get the Vince Youngs anymore, obviously. Until now, we do. And it's in the form of A.J. DeBonsa or Ryder Lyons going to BYU. It's in the form of BYU, the flagship university of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And that's a huge piece of everything that they do. But it also brings a lot of limitations to what they can do. And they, instead of taking those limitations and bowing down and bowing out and saying, hey, we're going to focus on faith and athletics comes second to the point where it's to its detriment. No, it's not to its detriment. They can go hand in hand. And the vessel of athletics, the front porch of athletics can work in BYU's favor, work in the LDS Church's favor by giving the world a notice, by putting the world on watch, saying that BYU does things the right way. And they also have elite level talent. They also have elite level coaching in NIL. When did this unlock? I say it a lot. Gone are the days of BYU only getting the 3-star kid from Logan, Utah. Gone are the days of Mark Allen, the 2-star offensive lineman from Orem, who's just going to go play at home. And then he starts his senior year and his 5th year at BYU because he's been so well developed. That guy still exists, I think. And it's a good thing that BYU's done that. But imagine you take that level of development from 2-star to 2-year starter. and then make it 4 or 5-star into 3-4 year starter. That's what BYU is doing. Is the same level of development, except the base you start with, as far as your athletes go, is now so much stronger. Where else? TCU's not doing this. Cincinnati's not doing this. Houston's not doing this. We're not seeing this level, 5-star level of commitments out of really anyone except for Colorado, Texas Tech, and BYU. And the consistency with which BYU has been able to do that as of late is incredible. And here's how big of a get this is for the Big 12 and how big of a get it is for BYU. I haven't even really talked that much about the kid. I haven't even told you why you should be excited about the kid. I've told you why you should be excited about the future of Big 12 football, the future of BYU football. And Ryder Lyons made a decision based on, yes, faith and family. Like, his dad is a BYU alum, and this entire process, BYU was the first one there. They were building a relationship with him in 2021. BYU, quarterback you. Like NFL quarterbacks, NFL caliber quarterbacks, year in and year out. That's just as big of a piece as his family. His brother's at USC. He could have gone to USC. I mentioned there are a ton of elite level LDS members in the sport of football who will choose USC over BYU because they foresee themselves having a better career in LA. That tide is turning, obviously. But past that, it is BYU's ability to sniff out talent immediately, BYU's ability to produce NFL quality quarterbacks, BYU's NIL opportunities. They are the forefront of that of anyone in the Big 12. And now you can become a legend. At USC, they're not packing out that stadium. They're not caring about football right now. Lincoln Riley can barely stay afloat. At BYU, when they're playing Southern Illinois on a Saturday afternoon, first weekend of the football season, every single seat in there is filled, and the opposing fans are getting ice cream from BYU. The tide has turned to where a kid like this isn't just committing for his family. He's committing because it makes the most sense across the board. The money makes the most sense. The fan base makes the most sense. And believe it or not, the conference makes the most sense. This is the biggest commitment the Big 12 has gotten post Oklahoma and Texas. This is the biggest recruiting news the Big 12 has gotten post Oklahoma and Texas. The only thing different is Deion Sanders bringing in Shedeur and Travis Hunter. And those guys were playing in the Pac-12 for their first year. Not that well either. As far as the Big 12 goes, there's not a way to compare this to anything. I am stunned, floored, excited, over the moon, because we just don't have this very often, especially when Texas and Oklahoma have exited, and now we do. BYU has brought this level of recruiting, this level of exposure, the Pat McAfee show covering it, to the Big 12 Conference. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel's where I go. Summer sports, yeah, full swing. And FanDuel's the best way to make every game more exciting. Follow the action. Make it more thrilling with FanDuel. Get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. Actually, I get sunburned on the beach while I'm getting in on the game with FanDuel. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions. Easy to use, fast payouts as well. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers get $5, who can bet $5, and win, get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. That is FanDuel. Your first $5 bet hits, you win $150 in bonus bets with FanDuel. That's it. Wow, dog. BYU just did that. BYU just did that. If you hit subscribe, get to keep my job. This has been and always will be Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Glad.